It started with a cruel joke the universe decided to play on me. Getting engaged to the man I hated most in the world. And the worst part. Everyone thought it was the best thing that could happen to me. When Ethan walked into the room that night, all sharp lines and quiet confidence, my lungs froze. The same face I'd seen in my nightmares for 2 years. The same hands that couldn't save Noah, the only person who ever truly understood me. And now, those hands were supposed to wear my engagement ring. I wanted to laugh. Or maybe throw up. Instead, I raised my glass to him like some character in a twisted rom-com, pretending this wasn't the most ironic moment of my life. "Alex," he said softly, like he remembered every detail about me. Like he remembered Noah. I hated how my name sounded on his lips. I hated how it still made my chest tighten, like a wound refusing to heal. 2 years ago, my world shattered in the sterile white walls of a hospital. Noah had gone in for a routine surgery and never came out. A freak complication, they said. No one's fault. Except, in my head, it was always his fault. Dr. Ethan Hale, the golden boy surgeon who played God and lost. And now, thanks to my father and his obsession with merging two powerful families, I was standing in the middle of a Manhattan penthouse engagement party, about to become Ethan's fiancée. I tried to convince myself I could survive this. Smile for the cameras. Shake hands. Play the perfect son. Because in my family, love wasn't a factor, it was leverage. My father had said it like a business deal. "This is bigger than you, Alex. Bigger than your grief." But grief isn't something you can pack away in a box and shove in the attic. It crawls under your skin, makes a home there. Every time Ethan's gaze lingered on me, every time our shoulders brushed in that suffocating room full of strangers, the box cracked open. When the party was finally over and the last guest left, I found him on the balcony, city lights painting his profile in silver and gold. He turned when he heard me, that calm, infuriating smile tugging at his lips. "You look like you'd rather jump than wear that ring," he said, his voice low, almost amused. I laughed bitterly. "You're not wrong." His smile faded. For a second, the mask slipped, and I saw something raw in his eyes. Guilt. Regret. Maybe even something darker. "Alex," he started, stepping closer. The night air was cool, but my skin burned where his presence touched me. "About Noah, don't." My voice cracked like glass. "You don't get to say his name." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. I turned to leave, but his hand closed around my wrist, not hard, just enough to stop me. His touch was warm, grounding, and I hated that it made my heart race. I never stopped blaming myself. He whispered, "You think you're the only one living with this." I froze. For 2 years, I painted him as the villain in my story. The careless surgeon. The man who stole my best friend. But standing there, feeling his hand tremble against my skin, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't the villain. He was broken, too. And that was the worst part. Because broken pieces, they fit together too damn well. The first time we kissed, it wasn't romantic. It wasn't sweet. It was anger and grief colliding like a storm, tearing through everything in its path. It happened after another one of those nights, endless meetings with our families, planning a wedding that felt more like a prison sentence. We ended up in his apartment, both drunk on frustration. I don't even remember what started the fight. Only how it ended, his mouth on mine. Hard and desperate. Like he was trying to breathe life back into something long dead. I should have pushed him away. I should have hated every second of it. But when his hands framed my face, when his lips softened and his breath hitched like he'd been waiting years for this, I kissed him back. God help me. I kissed him back. And that was the beginning of the end. Because once you taste something you've spent years craving in secret, you can't pretend anymore. You can't go back to hating them, no matter how much you want to. Ethan wasn't who I thought he was. Beneath the perfect facade, there was a man drowning in guilt. A man who'd given up everything to make things right even when the world didn't care. He told me things I never knew. Things that shattered the story I'd built in my head. Like how Noah's death wasn't an accident. It was a cover-up. It was a cover-up. The words hung in the air like smoke, curling into every corner of my mind until there was no space left for oxygen. I stared at him, my pulse pounding so hard it felt like it might split my skull open. You're lying. My voice shook, but I clung to the anger like a lifeline. Because if I let go if I believed him, I didn't know what I'd fall into. Ethan shook his head slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. I wish I was. God. Alex. I've wanted to tell you since that night. But his voice cracked. They threatened me. They threatened my license. My family. You. Who? The word ripped out of me like a scream. He hesitated. And that hesitation was all it took for the world I knew to tilt on its axis. My father. I said. Before he could. It wasn't a question. It was a blade sliding between my ribs. Because suddenly everything made sense. The endless meetings. The merger. The sudden push for an engagement. My father didn't care about love or family honor. He cared about control and burying secrets so deep they'd never see daylight. Ethan's silence was confirmation enough. My chest tightened. 1,000 jagged edges cutting from the inside. He killed him. I whispered, the taste of bile rising in my throat. Noah was going to expose something, wasn't he? He found out about the clinical trials your father's company was running. Ethan said softly. They weren't legal. Noah saw the numbers show many patients were dying. How many falsified reports there were. He came to me for help. I told him to stay quiet, that I'd try to handle it internally. He didn't listen. Ethan's eyes glistened under the dim apartment light. The night of the surgery, the anesthetic doses were switched. I didn't notice until it was too late. A roar filled my ears. My knees buckled, and I gripped the edge of the counter to keep from collapsing. Images of Noah flashed behind my eyes, his stupid grin. His relentless optimism. His voice saying everything's gonna be okay. And all this time, I'd been blaming the wrong man. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. And then Ethan touched me, just a light brush of his hand against mine, grounding me in the middle of the hurricane. Alex. He murmured. And there was something in his voice that broke me wide open. Not pity. Not guilt. Just raw, aching truth. I swear to you, if I could trade places with him, I would. Every single day. His voice trembled. And for the first time since I met him, Ethan Hale didn't look like the untouchable golden boy. He looked human. Fragile. I don't know who moved first, maybe it was me. Maybe it was him, but suddenly his arms were around me. And I was sinking into his chest like I'd been waiting my whole life for this. My fists curled in his shirt. clinging like he was the only thing keeping me from drowning. And maybe he was. We didn't talk about the kiss. Or the second one. Or the third. When the tears dried and the need took over. Fierce and unstoppable. That night wasn't about lust. It was about survival. About finding something real in a world built on lies. But the morning after, reality came crashing in. I woke up tangled in his sheets. His arm heavy across my waist. His breath warm against my neck. For one insane moment, I let myself imagine a life where this was normal, where I could wake up like this every day without the weight of secrets pressing on my chest. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from my father. Breakfast. 9 a.m. Don't be late. The next 2 weeks were a blur of wedding planning and whispered conversations behind locked doors. Ethan and I became experts at playing our parts in public. All polished smiles and practiced touches. But in private, we were fire. Every stolen moment was a rebellion. A desperate attempt to hold on to something pure before the darkness swallowed us whole. And the darkness was coming. The night before the engagement announcement, Ethan slipped into my room, his face pale and tight. "They know," he said, voice hoarse. My blood ran cold. "Who?" "My father overheard us at the hospital yesterday. He's telling yours." I shot out of bed, panic clawing up my throat. What does that mean? "It means they'll do whatever it takes to keep this quiet," Ethan said, his hands gripping my shoulders. "If that means destroying me, destroying you, no." The word came out like steel. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than fear. I'm done letting them control us. Done living in their shadow. He searched my face, something like hope flickering in his eyes. "Alex, we take them down," I said. "Both of them." The plan was reckless, dangerous, maybe even suicidal. But it was the only way out. Ethan had proof mails, patient files, data Noah had sent him before the surgery. We decided to leak everything to the press during the engagement gala. The one event our fathers had been bragging about for months. Cameras, reporters, influencers. It was the perfect stage for their empire to burn. But nothing ever goes as planned. The night of the gala. The ballroom glittered like a cathedral of lies. Crystal chandeliers cast golden halos over the city's elite. Their laughter sharp as broken glass. I stood beside Ethan, my hand resting lightly on his arm. Every nerve in my body vibrating with adrenaline. He glanced at me, his lips barely moving as he whispered, "Ready?" Before I could answer, my father stepped onto the stage, his smile wide and venomous. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us to celebrate the union of two great families, now or never." Ethan slipped the flash drive into my palm. I moved toward the media station, my heart slamming against my ribs. 5 more steps. 4. 3. A hand clamped down on my arm. "Going somewhere, son." I turned, and there he was, me father. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "You've been busy." My stomach dropped. "Let go. Do you have any idea what you're doing?" His grip tightened, bruising. "You think you can destroy me? I built everything you see. Everything you have." "I didn't have Noah." I spat, my voice shaking. "Because of you." For a flicker of a second, something like regret flashed in his eyes. Then it was gone. replaced by ice. You walk out there with this. You'll regret it for the rest of your life. I lifted my chin. No. I'll regret it if I don't. Before he could stop me, I tore free and ran for the station. The upload took 90 agonizing seconds. 90 seconds where everything hung in the Balance Me family. My future. My heart. I half expected security to drag me away before it finished. But then the screen behind the stage flickered, and suddenly the room was filled with files. Numbers. Names. The truth. In all its ugly glory. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Reporters surged forward like sharks scenting blood. My father's face went white. And then chaos erupted. I didn't stay to watch the empire fall. Ethan found me in the hallway, breathless, eyes blazing. You did it, he said, grabbing my hand like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to the earth. We did it, I corrected, my chest heaving. And then, because there was nothing left to lose, I kissed him. Right there in the middle of the wreckage of our old lives. With sirens wailing in the distance and the future a blank. Terrifying slate. For the first time in years, I felt free. It's been 6 months since that night. My father's facing charges. Ethan left the hospital and started a free clinic in Brooklyn. I moved into a tiny apartment with peeling paint and the worst view in the city, but when I wake up, he's there. And that's enough. Sometimes, when the ghosts come back, when Noah's laugh echoes in the quiet, I wonder if we deserve this happiness. And then Ethan will take my hand, grounding me in the here and now. And I know the answer. We do. Because love isn't about perfect endings. It's about surviving the storm and holding on to each other when the world tries to tear you apart. And we did. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.